So I want to talk about the Guild Wars 2 Beta Weekend. Now keep in mind that I'm going to be discussing a beta. And yes, I know it's a beta. That means things aren't finished. That means before release, things might get changed. They might get fixed. They might get worse. They might get better. It might become a completely... No, it won't become a completely different game. But I know this, and you should too. Now I'm going to briefly cover the things I liked first, because there were quite a few things I liked about Guild Wars. I liked the classes. I liked specifically the Elementalist. There was a class for everybody, and the Elementalist was definitely one for me. I had a lot of fun. It had a lot of utility. It had heals. It had reses. I essentially could play the role of support that I always wanted to play and always do play in MMORPGs. I really liked the combat. I thought the combat was a lot of fun. It was sort of like an action-y tab targeting combat. It was a mixture between both. Because you had, of course, your AoEs on the ground and whatnot, which, you know, is fine, but you also could tab target, single target people with certain abilities. Like I had in Earth Form this sort of ground thing that would go to a single target. It would hit anybody between me and that target, but then it would also stun them. And so it was pretty sweet. And also, of course, auto-attacking, which is your one ability on, well, I played Elementalist, so it was my one ability on each element. I thought they made the combat a lot of fun, even with dodging, how you could dodge people's AoEs and you could dodge their abilities. And I certainly got really involved in my character when doing this, and switching between the elements and using all of my attacks and making sure all of my big attacks were always on cooldown, and then healing and then helping allies, and then, you know, controlling enemies. It was a lot of fun, and the whole AoE system was certainly interesting because it's not something... Sure, MMOs have AoEs, but, you know, this is one where it's really heavy in that, and you have to be able to avoid the AoEs, and so it was cool. And, you know, laying down, you know, an AoE stun that people have to stand in, well, you have to time it perfectly so that way they hit it, and so it really made you think ahead of using your actual abilities. I certainly liked the art style. I felt like it was kind of realistic, kind of cartoony, but it was beautiful. I think it goes without saying that it was very beautiful, that the creatures that you found in the world were amazing. They had a lot of detail, and I thought that character creation was also awesome. Story creation and how you could create your character story while creating your character was amazing. The fact that I could make a pirate who likes to fight and comes from a rough neighborhood and all that was awesome. Well, okay, she wasn't technically a pirate, but I made her look like a pirate, and I called her Misfortune, so yeah, kind of a pirate. Now, since this is beta, of course there are going to be things that need improvement. I liked the World v World. In fact, I spent most of my time in the beta in World v World because, well, I'm going to play Guild Wars for World v World, let's face it. So, World v World, I loved it. You know, I had a lot of fun, but here's some things I think need improvement. I think the rewards need to be a little higher. I felt like, you know, I'd spend an hour at a keep trying to get down because they'd be healing the door and whatnot, and it'd be like the last keep in our zone, in our homeland that we needed to get back. And so we'd be sitting there fighting it, and then, you know, we'd defeat the keep lord and I get 59 copper. And I'm just like, well, gotta go repair now. Woohoo! And that was another thing, is, you know, attacking a keep, and then they repair it to full while you're sitting there, and it's like, okay, so now we get to spend another hour auto-attacking this. This is amazing. This is going to be fun. I do think that the repairs need to be slightly less on the doors. I think that they were paired up way too fast. If they were paired up slower, so that way it was easier to break down the doors, even with siege weapons, they could repair it despite being, you know, there being a siege weapon, then, I would appreciate that, so that way it doesn't feel like I'm attacking a door for eternity in World v World. There, that's the word I'm looking for, World v World. So, and another thing was the siege weapons themselves. They cost a lot, so you didn't get a lot of rewards in World v World money-wise. And what rewards I did get, I had to spend on repairs. I felt like melee didn't really have a place in World v World because, you know, if they went up to the doors, they would just get stuck under the melting pots. And so then they would have to stand at range. Well, they didn't really have anybody to attack at range. And so they're just like, well, I'm just going to stand here and wait for the door to get down. And so I felt like they didn't have as much of a place. Whereas if you were an elementalist or a range caster, you just sat back and you were casting AoEs on stuff, and you were, you know, Elementalists were amazing at attacking defenders. It's like, oh, I see you sitting up there on that ledge, AoE. AoE again, AoE, AoE. It's like just everywhere. And so, you know, I felt like they had more of a place, and I'd really like to see Melee have more of a place in World v. World. One of the things I didn't like were the Battlegrounds. I felt like the Battlegrounds were very stock. They were very standard Battlegrounds, like very World of Warcraft-y, old standard. Not much to them. The destructible environment was kind of cool, but other than that, they were kind of just stock. And another thing I didn't like was that I felt like if I went into Battlegrounds, it was sort of a waste of time because I didn't really get rewards. I didn't get money. If I had won or lost and then got, you know, a silver for losing and 5 silver for winning, then I'd be like, sweet! It was worth it. But it didn't really feel worth it otherwise because everything in the Battlegrounds were completely separate from your character out in the open world. And so they didn't... I would like money rewards at least. And I know that this is sort of intentional, but auto-balancing was a huge pet peeve because, you know, there'd be times where I'd be on the winning team, we'd have 4 people, they'd have 4. 3 of their people would drop out because they're losing, and then it would auto-balance and put me on the losing team or put, you know, someone on the losing team, and it would suck. And I know that if you buy or rent your own PvP server, then you can turn off auto-balancing, but I don't think it should be in the game. And also, you'd go into matches where it'd be 1v1 for like 5 minutes, and you're just like, well, this is going to take a while because it's you and me, buddy, and we're just sitting here fighting. And so it was certainly interesting. The Battlegrounds were okay. I kind of enjoy them. I liked going in on a full character, but I do think that they need some work. Now, one thing I don't like, and I know that they're not going to change this because they made a post about it, is that I can't see the names of the people I'm fighting in World v. World. Now, I see Blue Invader, I see Green Invader, I might see Red Invader, depending on what color I am, and it feels like, and in fact, I actually thought this at first, but it feels like I'm fighting a bunch of NPCs. I'm not actually fighting real players. Now, naturally, you're going to get the people who crap talk no matter what, but heck, you get allies that crap talk, so knowing their names isn't really that big of a deal. One thing I like is that it makes it more personal, and especially if, you know, you're in the middle of a fight and you see your arch nemesis who's really good, he's killed you multiple times, and, you know, you're like, man, I just gotta kill you. I just gotta kill you. I gotta get revenge. You know, you killed my dog. You killed my pet rabbit. And you spit on my lizard. Of course I gotta kill you. I'm gonna go kill you now. And, you know, you just get this passion about going in and fighting these people that, you know they're good, and they've done really well, and it's not just a passion and sort of like a desire to kill them, it's also this respect you get for them for basically proving and making a name for themselves. And in my opinion, as someone who loves PvP, Ultima Online was my first game, I played it for 7 years, I think making a name for yourself has a lot to do with PvP. I mean, of course, I'm not the best PvPer in the world, but there are a lot of really good PvPers, and I guarantee in every game I played, I can remember the names of some really good PvPers, because I had a lot of respect for them, and so did other people. I feel like it sort of builds a community if you allow for names to be shown, because you want to know the names of the people you're fighting. So even if you're just like, hey, that was a good fight last night, you did really, really good, you're a good player, you should probably share your spec with me or something sometime. We should talk, we should exchange numbers and work out these numbers here so that way I can kill you next time I see you.